Okay, topics for today. We'll look at Sean's new pages.
I have some announcement.
Sultan has an announcement. What can it be? Let me think.
It's very cool.
It's very cool. Okay, I have no idea then. Okay. Dan Sipke, Dimo?
No demo.
Bertrand, Dimo? Nope, you showed me something yesterday. Don't want to share. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. New head here. Okay. Oh, and I have a demo. What else? Any topic we should talk about? Stuff I forgot to do that you should remind me.
Nearsightedness, farsightedness, even astigmatism with customized blade pre-lacing.
Sorry, Rob, we are meeting you. Okay, so let's do a status check with what has been done during last week. I saw something yesterday or today. So removing front end. So Nick work on localization. This one, fixing migration isolation and session lifetime. What is that? Yeah, this one was a nice one. Yeah, this one is good. Did I talk about it yesterday? Last week? I think so. Yeah, I think so. Piotr, fix exception thrown when trying to update a feature manually. Okay, it was missing value here. Fine. I think we've talked about it too. Yes, and this one we haven't talked about, 6 days, and I need to explain because it's very interesting. Have we talked about this one? 6 days, but I'm not sure, maybe.
Yes, you mentioned that you're working on it.
That I was working on that?
Yeah.
Did I explain the issue?
Yeah, so the issue was that the infoset and the record was storing the UTC values differently, right? Okay.
Correct. So I explained. I did something on Thursday. No? Okay, let me see. So this is cool. So did I talk about this new convention? Oh no, yes.
No.
Okay, so yes, I remember. So last week I explained you that the database was storing by millisecond. Was not storing the milliseconds, and the infoset was. So Sean came with a nice idea, which is to compare the time without milliseconds. So I'm doing that. I think I've made here a method for that, a local one for that. Yeah, let me see. Oh yeah. Oh, okay, I remember now. This is awesome. Yes, dates util dates are equivalent, which doesn't check the millisecond part, and it's explained here. Dates are assumed at the same. Okay, but I found another issue actually, very interesting one. The issue. So the first issue was that database doesn't have the milliseconds. Okay, because we can only use date time and not date time too. And infoset has milliseconds. So when we were checking the equality, it wasn't working. And then I fixed it by Sean's recommendation, just not to ignore milliseconds. And there was another issue. They were still not the same. Because when you save a date time in a database, it loses its time zone. So when an Hibernate loads it again, you get an undefined time zone when you load it. But the infoset doesn't lose the time zone because it saves it in UTC and gives it you back in UTC time zone. So when I was comparing the two values, they were still not equivalent. So the way to do that in an Hibernate is to, when you create a mapping, is to define if that property is a local time zone or a UTC time zone. So I created a new convention for an Hibernate, which will define, you see here, where is that? Yep, custom type. You define a custom type, which is UTC datetime type, but I will only apply it if the datetime ends with UTC. So it's a convention. So if your property ends with UTC, an Hibernate will load it back using and assigning the UTC time zone. It doesn't break anything, even if you have or not have UTC at the end of your datetimes. It doesn't break anything. It's just now assigning for sure the time zones. So now I can compare them and it works. So it was very interesting bug. And by the way, session configuration cache. And what I'm doing also, I've changed this class to add the orchard version to the hash code of the session configuration, so that when we set up a new orchard instance, the mappings.bin, which is cached, will be invalidated. That's also interesting. This one is registering the convention. This is a new convention. And I fixed also some bugs. Let me see. This one has nothing to do. Yes, and it's also fixing actually the publish later feature, which was actually broken. Lots of scenarios were broken. For instance, one of the goals of publish later is that you don't define a created UTC, and when you publish, it will assign it. Or if you define it, it won't lose it. So those scenarios were broken, and I fixed them. So that's good. That was just this change chat. It was interesting. I had fun. This run from Sipke's layout, Nick on localization. Then I merge, okay, bulletproofing the cancel in case you call it without initializing the session. And what is that? Fixing the target framework for code templates. This I will explain, blah, blah, blah. And then Nick merged the localization changes to 1.x 6 hours ago. So we don't know actually if Orchard still works. So the continuous build still passes. Oh no, 3 days ago. What is that?
That's 1.x into localization.
Oh, good. Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Dude. How do you dude me?
Dude?
1.x sneak was okay, blah blah. Yeah, I would not have worried about it if you think it's ready for 1.x. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Demos. Let's start with the beginning. Sean. So Sean made some updates. Do you want to share the links, Sean?
Sure.
Because sharing a screen will be too hard. I have to unshare.
Am I yelling or am I good sound?
You're perfect.
Oh, wow, that's great. So Bertrand Leroy mentioned that blue was in the Orchard colors, and so I agreed. And
Oh,
I made it
green.
So I'm not a designer. Criticize colors at will.
Can we have settings on the right where we can choose which? No.
Sure, yeah.
No. Okay, so green. Yeah.
The only different pages now are the documentation now has stuff, and the community has more stuff. And the About page has more stuff.
So these sections will they be automatic or?
Sorry?
Will it be automatic or handwritten?
Well, right now it's just static.
But the idea is that those sections will be the actual documentation sections?
Well, I just pulled them from the documentation page that we currently have.
Okay.
So it's just a copy and paste of the HTML and then new CSS.
Okay.
Reasonable limits. Like, I did a little bit of tweaking of the HTML, but not too much.
So it's really the table of content that we have today, but as zones like this and not like a table of content.
It looks like this. orchardproject.net, and then you click on the documentation page, and yeah, it's just this page.
This is this, okay.
Yeah.
Looks cool. And the other one you changed?
Community has something near the bottom. Just how to contribute. And the About Us has all of the bios.
Does anyone know these guys? Have ever heard about them? Look, Zoldan is not even here. Is he? No?
I don't think so.
I see their names pop up in Visual Studio.
This one, do you know this one? Who remembers Chris Bauer? I do.
I do too.
Nick can because he's the eldest here.
I remember Chris. What happened to him? Did he get scurvy?
He had an opportunity to become a CTO of a new company. So
yes, and yeah, he was very good. He still is very good, just not working with us anymore. Okay, it looks good. Yeah,
I'm going to keep going to just guessing about what content to put in each page. Currently, I'm not sure what to put in places like customers or support or partners.
So customers, I think we said we will drive it from the showorchard.com website, and we will also pick some of them on the front page. You see here, showcase. So this should be, maybe this will be something like this, or maybe with more details or some focus on specific customers or specific case studies, and that will make sense. Specific case studies for that.
Okay, cool. I'll email.
We will need a search here for sure, but this is a separate app that we can do later, but it looks nice.
Cool. I'm just focusing on layout right now. Colors can change really easily.
Yeah, and this page seems weird. I don't know what we intended with that. If they have to be, maybe they have to be different pages or links. Yeah, links to external pages, because here we have lots of things. Contribute, for instance, should be a separate page.
Yeah.
And when you click on contribute, you go on this page. It's not on the main menu, but from here, contribute, or just a little paragraph which points to a page.
Okay. So make contribute a new page.
Yeah. It deserves its own page for sure.
Okay.
Okay, cool. That's cool. We have some progress here.
Yeah, I'll just keep going today and tomorrow, and then I'll be taking another break until next week.
Thank you. Governance. It's here. What is that? I don't even know we have that. Okay, cool. Next one in line, Zoltan. Announce.
Yeah, this is really just an announcement. We have talked about this before, but now at last we have open sourced our Azure indexing module. I pasted the link into the chat window. This module plugs into Lucene indexing. So if you use Lucene search indexers, you can just enable this module and it will take over. And it will store all Lucene indices in blob storage with a local cache. So this helps you make your web server stateless and your Orchard application more scalable by not storing the search index on the local file system. So if you have a cloud service and you use Lucene indexing, search indexing, this is definitely for you. And probably even if you use Azure Web Science.
How does it work in multi-tenancy?
Sorry?
That works with multi-tenancy?
Yes, it works in the exact same way. So there are folders in blob storage, and you have local cache files in the exact same folders where the local index files were. So it still uses the index task record? Yes. So, yeah, it didn't change anything else. Anything in indexing. It's just something that builds on Lucene indexing.
Is it? No, it doesn't require a very helpful library. I don't know what you call it.
I'm not sure, probably not.
Very helpful library? What, the module?
It's helpful libraries.
Oh, helpful libraries. Sorry.
And it's very helpful, yes.
Yeah, yes, that's how you know. Mutex.
Yeah,
you are using it?
A project. Sorry?
You are using it in .NET?
Yes, on all Web Science and also in .NET, yes.
Blob Mutex Manager. Is that something you made it up? Oh, yeah.
You know, this is Azure Directory, so it uses a project called Azure Directory with some minor modifications, and it adapts it to Orchard services.
What is that?
I have no idea. Never looked at this part of the code.
You store it?
No, it's an open source. It's also accredited.
Okay, that's weird. Set access control. Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, this is needed.
Maybe I should add it to the core in the Azure module. I will copy paste it and change the license.
Sébastien, one module copy paste into the core for 1 month is enough for us.
So next month then. Okay, cool. I'll try it.
So, and by the way, we haven't announced this yet, but we have already met Sébastien there. We are now part of the Azure Web Science Customer Advisory Board. So if there is anything wrong with Orchard and Azure, we can directly tell them to the relevant guys.
Yeah, but they don't care. I know them. They don't care.
Oh, they say they care.
They do care.
They care about WordPress. Care about Orchard.
No, we are secretly working on something WordPress related, but
you see,
yeah, they
cool.
very much care about that.
Oh, they are nice people. Cool. Thank you. Any question? Lombiq is going WordPress. because WordPress scales on Azure, being part of the Azure website, blah, 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 okay. Oh, I'm being told that Orchard Prime is down. What is Orchard Prime? The old stuff. Oh, fuck, link. Orchard Prime. Link, stop it. It's down, so I don't know what it is. The theme stuff. Yeah, maybe it. Okay. So demo. Demo. So I have a website here. Okay. And I have another website here. Let me explain the issue. This is what I will tell Sipke if he was doing the demo. So the issue is, let's say you run in a farm because you are rich and you don't know how to spend your money, so you build a farm of Orchard instances. And in the farm, even though we tell you don't create content types, you create content types. You have lots of issues. The issue is that content types are cached using the iCache manager. And because they are cached using the iCache manager, they are cached locally. So the other instance doesn't see the changes. So if you change a content type and you change a theme, the other one, because it has cached the content types, doesn't know it has changed, and the web app fails, the node fails, and you get exceptions and doesn't work. And this is just for content types, but same thing for settings. Let's say you change the cache settings on one node, the other one doesn't see the changes because they are all local. With the iCache manager, you can't use a common store for all your cache items because many reasons. We where is the? Can you point me, Zoltan, to the issue where I explained?
Which one?
The one I said iCache service, it was iCache manager and blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, that was just lately, so you will be able to find it.
So if I go to basic view, how do you find stuff here? iCache service.
Is the third issue down there? Okay.
This one? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So I will just read myself because I think it was a good explanation. So this explanation has nothing to do with this bug. I was completely out of scope, but that's a good explanation. So you can't use a central repository for iCache manager because the cache system monitors the key itself. This is not, I don't know. Oh yes, this one, this sentence. So cache manager is used for settings mainly. Can be used multiple times in a request. Yeah. So those settings, they are in process, and they can be used lots of times in a request. So if you save it externally, you will have lots of network latency. Also, there is no memory pressure because when you put something in this cache, you want it to be cached. Okay, you don't want to have to reload it every time on the database because you don't have any more memory. You can also use advanced invalidation techniques like file change or any high volatile token that you would like to implement. So this one is a very specific cache, and you can't use a central repository. So the only solution is to have something which will synchronize them. And this is a demo I'm about to show you. So these are two different web apps running, and to run them, I used two IS Express instances. They're running the same file system folder for the website, which means they are like two different IS server running on the same instance, sharing the same database. So it's a farm setup. So what you can see now, if I go on the content definition, I have enabled the module in question. So if you create a new type, and I create a new type, in the old case, if I create a new type, it will not appear on the right. Now I create, and I go, it's slow, and I go refresh on the right, and I can see the type. You see, you didn't have to wait for that. It's instantaneous. So because as soon as I've created the type, this instance will say, oh, I need to refresh my cache. But at the same time, it will send a message to all other nodes running on the farm saying you also need to refresh this specific cache entry, and they will be invalidated, and the next time something tries to read the cache entry, it will get it from the database. So it's really cache invalidation. And the same way, if I edit this one, and let's say I add a part to that, so I will add a part auto route and title and widget, and I save. Done. If I go there and I edit the type, you will see I have all three stuff. And they are, look at the ports, different IS, 3332 and 3331. Okay, so how it's done, I made orchard.messagebus module. The name can be changed. We'll talk about it. In this thing, there are different features. The main one is the message bus feature. This one is just an API so that any module, any feature can publish and subscribe events. So this feature comes with this interface, which lets you subscribe to a channel and do something when you get a message, and publish a message on a specific channel. Okay, you also have the async counterparts. This one can be implemented by different means. The first one that I did is using SQL Server Service Broker, but as explained on the forum, because I opened a thread for that, I will provide an implementation for Redis and also for Azure Queues. Sorry, Azure Service Bus, not Azure Queues. So the default implementation here, what I call a message broker, is based on SQL Server. And this is what I'm using right now. Because I've developed the website using SQL Server, I'm using SQL Server Service Broker. And what it has, it just creates a table which will contain all the messages which are exchanged. And we're using a SQL dependency which will notify us when something new is there. And when something new is there, we will process all the messages to invalidate the signal in this case. And we do that by using a distributed signals implementation. This one is mostly based on the one that Zoltan did in his distributed events module. But in this case, he was polling the database, and the message bus is ready to have it live. So here it's just, you see, using the message bus interface to subscribe to a new signal channel, and when it's subscribed, it just calls the base implementation. And at the same time, when something local is triggered, it will publish the signal with which key we have to invalidate. Okay, so this is it, and this works. Any questions I've missed? Blah 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 blah. Okay, George, what is?
Yeah, George is crying.
So no task list is to block two nodes from doing the same task at the same time. This one is the opposite. It's telling every node, hey, do that too, guys. Fuck you, Zoltan.
Tell me that it's successful.
Can be improved, that's it.
It doesn't work.
If it works, why do you say it doesn't work?
Okay, so the typical use case would be to prevent two background tasks from doing the same thing, and it will be never able to do that because of database transactions being open at the same time. But I explained that.
That's a good looking mechanism.
Right. Two background tasks or any background task will be able to do the same thing at the same time, despite having a lead on the task.
I'm not sure. It's in production. It has been in production for 4 years. It works well.
Yeah, and it's had this issue forever.
Fix it.
I fixed it in another implementation that uses files. I've also explained that many times.
Because you use Azure websites.
No, it uses files stored in the media for this purpose, and that should be stored. That should be shared if you are using multiple servers or multiple.
That can work.
Processes.
Do people use it? The task list? Yes. We use it. Everyone uses it. You don't know it. Okay. Then there is something else which doesn't work right now. It's a way to also so again, iMessage bus is ready to be used by different features for different matters. Signal distributes the signals across the nodes, and there is another feature here, which is a distributed shell restart, which will notify any other node that it has to restart. For instance, if you enable or disable a module, or add a new module. Add a module is different. No, enable or disable a module. It will need to restart the tenant. And yep. So that's it. There are some improvements to do. Zoltan already saw the feature and found some little bugs, and also suggested some improvements that we'll take into account. Questions? Oh, we'll have George try it and tell us if it works. And if it doesn't work, we'll see. But it should work.
I have a question about content item permissions.
Go.
Is it known to be buggy, or am I doing something wrong?
Which part of the content item permission? Oh, the feature?
Yeah. It's a module, and it allows work with menu items and content items so that we can control it at the content item level,
so
or the content type level.
It's not supposed to be buggy.
Okay.
I don't think it's known that it's buggy. I think it's well known that it works very well, actually.
Cool. I'll document any bugs that I found. I just didn't want to recreate the wheel.
Okay, thank you.
The bug wheel.
Yeah. Any other topic to discuss? Oh, something about the message bus. So I mentioned maybe the name could be changed, because when you see message bus, you could think about all the ways you can distribute messages. This one is broadcasting messages, and they are not durable messages. When we talk about message bus, you can think about also sorry, durability, like is a message persisted for how long, and can the other node replay all messages. This implementation is just supposed to be non-durable messages. So when you subscribe using the API to the channel, you will just get all the messages after you subscribe and not the previous ones. And it's also automatically cleaned, this message list. So Bertrand is suggesting that we don't call it a message bus, but more distributed events. And then Zoltan will smile. No, don't smile, and open your mic. And this will sound familiar. I don't know why he had this idea. I don't even think he made it intentionally. But yeah, the idea will be not to call it message bus. I like it to be called message bus because it's a message bus with just the fact that it's not durable messages. But I'm open to any suggestion and thinks we should rename it, we can.
Given the same ideas and same thoughts, I came up with distributed events before. So that would be still my best suggestion.
Okay.
Although then there is the confusion with orchard events.
Yeah, Bertrand also mentioned that because we already have an event bus, but it's more remote procedure call. Well, yeah, than just sending events. Distributed events is fine with me. What will be the class name? Distributed events. What? Signaling, no, because signaling is just one usage of the distributed events. You might want to use it for different matters, like sending messages, like doing chat. You could do some chat room with this feature, and everyone on every node will receive messages. Semaphore. No, I'm lost. No, that's not really. Task list is a semaphore. Were you talking about task list or message bus, Bertrand? Because task list is semaphore. Yeah, I like message bus personally. So yeah, we'll see. We can talk about it later. You are wrong, Bertrand. That's it. Okay. Does anyone have any question? A topic to talk about?
Bug triage.
Bug triage. If no one has any topic to talk about, that's fine with me. Yes, and Zoltan pointed me to an old issue related to the distributed events with 24 votes. Kind of interesting. Oh, oh man. So this one, 24 votes, signals need a way to propagate to other servers in the farm, okay. I didn't know there were more votes than that. Oh, but there are some are, okay. Open, not closed. Okay, proposed or active. Huh. Yeah, one day we should do that. We should triage them. Or fix them, sorry. So proposed, reason closed, all, type, all, impact, old, release unassigned. Okay. Update dates, the other way around. This one I don't want to talk about, I need more time. This, okay, we stop here on Thursday. Previewing content items needs 2 permission. Yes, so we looked at it last Thursday and we didn't open that, and So right now it's asking for view content and edit content to be able to preview something. Do we need a new permission? Preview content permission? Or can we keep the dependency on edit permission? Why does it bother you, Nick? You don't care anymore.
Maybe a separate permission is nice because then you can potentially share the URL to preview if you want to show it to someone.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Exactly. Yeah, so you might not want to edit the content. You might just want to preview the content. You know, think of like a moderator just wants to preview and say it's okay or whatever. I think it's a valid use case. I don't even remember writing it. When did I do it? Oh, February.
March, we've reached March. Crazy. We should have better way to add CSS for workflows, activities than blindly including one CSS for each one of them.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen the 404s. It's not nice.
Not nice. But once
it's not a problem, but it's not nice.
Sipke and Piedon, Sipke and Zoltan, if you were sometimes creating modules, you will see the other way around, that try to find a solution to that instead of just complaining about it, and you will see this is the best solution.
We could, for example, encourage authors to use the iResource Manager directly.
Okay, but let me think. I think this is an issue then, a cross-module issue. If you want to create, yeah, let me explain. While I'm trying to find some arguments, I'm also finding some solutions to my arguments. So you can't hear that, but I'm thinking about the arguments and the solutions. So you say if you do that, when you create a custom shape, well, you will need to create a custom shape to add a CSS, and that will be fine. So in your custom shape, you require the CSS. That's what you say? I'm just thinking about workflows particularly because I know how they work. So when you render an activity, it will look for activity-workflow name. And if you want to customize the activity icon or rendering, you implement that. And there you would, as you suggest, do a require of the CSS you need.
Problem, I think, well, it doesn't work because you load it using Ajax.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. It doesn't work because you load it using Ajax. So, thank you, because I forgot about this argument. So what would be the solution then?
I actually didn't mean that, but rather when you evaluate providers or whatever is done there, iResource Manager could be accessed directly from those providers, so in backend code, and require CSS there.
How do you detect that the backend code needs to inject the CSS in this context, if not using a different interface?
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, but you probably at this point would have to implement some sort of shape table provider.
Yeah.
Because there's no.
So another way to do that would be to expand the resource provider using kind of an event bus saying, hey guys, I'm about to render a workflow. Who wants to inject some CSS inside? And then you could look up and add something dynamically.
Yeah.
See what I mean, Zoltan? Because when we render the workflow designer, any module can provide activities. So any module would want to provide CSS entries. But to be able to do that, you need to do a require, but the opposite of require. Okay? So when the workflow designer says, I want to render the workflow CSS, it should send an event to let any module say, hey, then please add. It's an event actually. It could be an event on the workflow on the resource manager, so that anyone can then call the resource manager to inject something at this point.
Yeah, but for example, the technique that is used with token providers is that they have a describe method what is run when you are actually collecting data about the providers. And contrary to that, for example, activities have properties like name and category that are used when such evaluation happens. We could just add something that is being run when this evaluation happens, since we don't have such a describe method, and providers could then just access the iResource manager and require a CSS file there.
This is what I'm saying. Add an event on the resource to say when the workflow is rendering, say, hey guys, who wants to inject something, and you access the resource provider. That's exactly what I'm saying. So I agree, because I agree, and but then let's say we do that. For workflow designers, when you create an activity, most of the time, you would like to create a custom CSS because you want to customize what's the icon inside. So now, most of the time, you will have to create a resource or to create some specific code to register to this event, to register the CSS, and you will create the CSS. I think the current issue is the opposite. It's sometimes, a few times, you don't want a CSS, and you don't want it to look for a CSS. Isn't it better then to just say, in these cases, which are few, I will create an empty CSS to prevent a 404?
Yes, but having to implement a workaround for some automatic mechanism is,
the automatic was by design. The design was, if you create an activity, I will look for a CSS class for that. Same thing for the menu items. Though I don't disagree with the idea that we could still enhance the resource manager with this kind of event, so that other modules can register something else at a specific point of time.
And by the way, this is also restricting. Because you can't, you have to have a separate CSS file for every activity instead of, for example, having one for all of your 10 activities. So yeah, I don't like such defaults.
I missed something here. What are people seeing on the chat? Interesting or not? Okay, not talking about that. So I think we can still implement. So I will not change the way it's. I agree with the recommendation. I will not change the way it's done with workflows today. It will break every workflow item for not that interesting. Well, not interesting. It's not a critical issue, okay? But I agree that we could enhance the resource manager to provide this new extensibility point. So we will have a sorry, I won't stop you anymore.
Okay, thanks. And in the meantime, we should really do something about those activities that don't have a CSS file, and thus we are getting 404s.
Yes, sure. We should fix them. We should create an empty CSS. And today it's the same with the menu items. It will look for a menu item CSS.
Yeah, but with menu items, this is an opt-in because you have to, I don't know, you have to define something to get the CSS automatically included. Okay. But for activities, you get automatically.
Oh yeah, you're right. In the navigation provider.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is nice is that we could actually re-implement the current behavior, which is include based on the name of the workflow, using one implementation of this thing, which would inject based on the name of the workflow or the workflow activity, well, which will look at all the workflow activities and inject all the CSS for all the workflow activities using add some stuff.
So we would arrive at the same thing, but much more
yes, but yes. That's why I say it's funny. You don't want to do that, but yeah, you could. That's called a good extensibility because we are allowing extensibility, and all the non-extensible cases fit inside the extensibility. It's good. Okay. I don't understand the question. Yeah. But I agree. Well, actually, let's look at the issue, the image. Crap. Looks fine to me, honestly. I think the issue is that maybe it should be longer than that. I don't know.
I added a possible translation as a command with Google Translate.
Oh. No wrap. That's weird. Okay. Finally. Oh, who's this guy? Stop. We should block him. Beyond DB.
I don't want to go to infinity yet, just beyond the DB right now.
I think this is what we call two-phase commit, and the issue is that anything you do, you will have to provide the opposite task so that it can revert the task. And this will make Orchard very enterprise ready, and we don't want to fit in this section.
Too much competition? Or?
Do you really mean what you're writing here?
Very exactly.
I mean, for instance, I write a media, the transaction fails, revert the media?
Yes, because now you will have a file that is orphaned, and next time when you want to upload a media file with the same name, to fix that, it actually won't work because there will be an existing file that nobody knows about.
But do you want Orchard to make it for you? Or just a way to know that the transaction failed, and because you remember you wrote a media, you could say, oh, then I will do something else?
I don't want Orchard to handle everything for me, but I want similar cases to be solved somehow.
So, at least an event. Let me think. Something that when you,
For example, you could subscribe to an event on the current transaction somehow. So if it's cancelled or if it fails, you can handle that.
Yeah, on cancel. On rollback, on commit, so you know it has been committed or rollbacked. So when you add your media, you also get the current transaction, and you check, and you also register to the event so that in case it failed, you can revert your media. The issue being that in a request, you could have multiple transactions.
Yeah, but you could just subscribe to the current transaction.
At least. It's better than nothing. Yeah. Hold back. Future version. Shape tracing module shows a blank. Major for definition, bulk action have been implemented. Bulk delay doesn't do anything. Oh, there is something also I would like. Let me create an issue.
Are we ever going to release 1.8.x?
we will release 1.8.x, whatever happens. We will have 1.8.2. And I say, actually, let's talk about it. I think it's ready. We should release 1.8.2. Last week I worked, or the week before, last week, I worked on fixing many bugs. We didn't see that. It's weird.
Yeah, I think you showed us.
No, we didn't. Text record, removing unload media chars in requests. Oh, yeah. I worked actually last week. I fixed some bugs. Clearing. Oh, and yes, lots of things. So now you don't need to call content manager.clear anymore. It's done automatically when you require a new transaction or a commit transaction. It's much better. Creating indexing task by batches, which fixes half of the issue that is mentioned here. Zoltan could explain. Fixing overflowing media titles. Fixing sort criteria order. If you have two sort criteria in the projection, now they are taken in the correct order. So yeah, I fixed that. I forgot to mention it. And this thing that Zoltan found. Yep. So yeah, that's why I say it should be ready for 1.8.2, because I fixed all the high pri issues on the bug thing. What I wanted to mention also is we need debug orchard debug workflow. We have view running workflow from the contents view. Need these links from the yep. Because sometimes a workflow is not assigned to a content item. So we can go to content items and see the related workflows. So we need, from the workflow definition, we currently see the number of running workflow instances, but I'd like to be able to see those instances and click on a link to see what's the state and maybe delete the instance. Like, we don't care about this workflow running anymore. Let's delete it. Able to delete a running workflow. Okay, done with triaging. Any last question, remark? George is writing. Bye bye George, and bye bye everyone.
See you later. Bye bye.
See you on Thursday.
Bye everyone.
Later.